Waitress reveals incredible truth. How she saved a billionaire from a 200M life-changing trap. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon filled the bustling diner, where Sarah bustled about, managing plates and pouring cups. She was 24, a single mother in every sense, raising her 8-year-old brother Timmy after their parents' sudden death. Every night, she worked long hours, dreaming of college and a way out of this small town, but life kept throwing curveballs. She nodded to regulars, wiping worn counters as she thought of how to make ends meet. That morning, while kneading dough for the day's special, she overheard a heated conversation at a nearby booth. Mr. Fletcher, the billionaire businessman known for his edgy investments, looked terrified. His gruff voice cut through the morning chatter. "If we don't back out now, we're heading straight for a 200 million disaster." The weight of his fear seeped into Sarah's chest, reminding her of the economic struggles she witnessed among her patrons. With her heart racing, an inexplicable urge pushed her to intervene, even as doubt clouded her mind. Staying in her lane seemed safer. The day rolled on, but her thoughts remained tangled in that moment. Later that night, the diner was quiet, and the clock ticked past midnight when Mr. Fletcher stepped through the door. His brow furrowed, silhouetted against the neon-esque glow. "Coffee," he grumbled as he nestled into a booth. Sarah, recognizing the man burdened by too much wealth, approached with trepidation. "Refill?" she offered, her hands trembling slightly. Their conversations unfolded like a late-night talk show, his worries spilling out, her wisdom surprisingly flowing back. The billionaire listened, intrigued, as Sarah spoke of balancing family and hope, struggles that resonated louder than his multi-million-dollar problems. "Maybe," he mused, "you could show me a different perspective on things." His genuine interest sparked an unexpected friendship that made her heart thunder. Hope flared to life, but with it lingered the fear of crossing a boundary that made her head spin. Before Sarah could grasp her new feelings of aspiration, chaos erupted in the form of a rival businessman scheming against Mr. Fletcher. The tension hit home hard when she discovered Timmy's school was on the chopping block, facing funding cuts that could steal his future. The economic divide wasn't just talk. It landed right on her doorstep. Desperation ignited a resilience in her, as she rallied the diner-esque community. "We have to expose the truth," she declared, her voice rising like a battle cry. As they worked tirelessly to protect the man who had unexpectedly offered her a glimpse into a different world, that connection deepened. But all the while, shadows loomed, and Sarah felt the stakes rising. Would speaking out cost her the very foundation she had built for Timmy? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a storm brewing, Sarah stood at the diner's entrance, her heart racing as the aroma of coffee mixed with the scent of uncertainty. Could she really bridge the gap between their worlds? Or would risking it all shatter her family and dreams? The night cast long shadows, and the future felt precariously balanced, the truth resting like a solid weight in her hands. Would it lead to the hope she craved, or the downfall of everything she cherished? As she held her breath, one thought burned brighter than the rest. The enormous responsibility of navigating an unpredictable path lay in her hands. The next morning dawned, heavy with promise and dread. The sunlight dripped through the diner's windows, casting warm pools of light on the cracked linoleum. As Sarah brewed the coffee, the familiar rhythm of the diner buzzed around her. But today was different. The pressing weight of her intentions clung to her like a damp coat. Timmy was still asleep at home, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just outside the diner's glass door. She stood at the counter, tapping her fingers nervously against the faded wood. Could she really do this? Her thoughts fluttered around like trapped butterflies. Mr. Fletcher entered just as the morning rush began, looking sharper than before, though the shadows under his eyes told another story. He spotted Sarah, his face softening at the sight of her, but the concern didn't escape him. "You good?" he asked, his voice low, the weight of the world still hanging on his shoulders. A sigh escaped her lips, one she didn't know she was holding. "We're going to need to talk about the plan." The word plan felt monumental, as though she was stepping onto a launching pad. As the diner buzzed with chatter and clinking cutlery, they slipped into a booth at the back, voices hushed. He leaned forward, brow furrowed. "I'm aware of the plot against me, but the details are murky. What's their endgame?" Fingers pressed against her temples, thoughts colliding like bumper cars. "I overheard some customers talking," she began slowly. "They believe funding cuts at the school are tied to your company's investments. They think you're an enemy and well, so do I, sort of." His expression turned grave. "I didn't intend for any harm to come here. He paused, searching for the right words. "I've been consumed by my ambition, and it's clouded my judgment." Suddenly, a thought sparked bright in her mind, a flicker of possibility. What if we turned this around? If we could rally the community, show them your heart? Maybe then they won't see you as the enemy. He looked intrigued yet hesitant. "And how do you propose we do that?" The diner's familiar smells faded as excitement laced her words. "We can host an open meeting. Invite them in. Let them hear your side, your vision for the community. Show them you care." For a moment he seemed to weigh her suggestion, uncertainty crossing his face. "What if it backfires? What if they reject me?" Sarah's heart played a quick drum roll. "But what if they don't? What if you help save their school and show them the real you? That's worth trying, don't you think?" His expression softened, the tension around his mouth easing slightly. "With you by my side, Sarah, I think I can face them." A smile crept across his face, and for a moment, the shadows lifted, and hope slipped right in as shifts in plans silently stirred. Sarah could sense something brewing in the air more than just the scent of coffee. She envisioned a community rising together, battling against the darkness. But there was a lingering fear tucked in her chest. The shadows weren't just Mr. Fletcher's rivals. They were her own fears as well. As they returned to their seats, something felt undeniably lighter. "We should announce a meeting today," she said, voice steadying. "Yes. Let us show them the truth." He nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. But as they prepared to share their plan with the diner's patrons, another thought crept in. What if revealing his heart exposed her own secrets? Could she risk everything just to save him? A rush of emotions flooded her mind as the bell above the door chimed, signaling the entrance of new customers. Each face held hopes, questions, perhaps even judgments. Sarah's heart raced again. The moment of truth was coming, and as Mr. Fletcher's hand brushed against hers, they both knew this battle had just begun. What would happen if the truth split them apart instead of bringing them together? Would they find strength amidst the chaos? Or would it unravel everything they had fought for? The air felt charged, electric with uncertainty. The sun climbed higher, casting a golden hue over the diner as Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She could see some regulars trickling in, unaware of the pivotal moment unfolding in their small town. Mr. Fletcher was already scanning the crowd, his expression a mix of determination and lingering doubt. The stakes felt sky-high. "Are you ready?" he asked, leaning closer across their booth. His eyes searched hers, seeking reassurance she wasn't sure she had. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, trying to inject confidence into her voice. It wavered, but she pushed through. "Let us go for it." He nodded, standing slowly, the shift toward the bustling diner seeming monumental. The clatter of dishes and hum of voices faded into the background as Mr. Fletcher cleared his throat, commanding attention with a grace that seemed foreign to both of them. He was their enemy, the perceived villain, but perhaps today he could be something else. "Excuse me, everyone," he called, his voice cutting through the noise. Eyes began to swivel, chatter softening into a curious silence. "I know this isn't a typical morning announcement, but I want to talk to all of you about something very important." Sarah could feel her stomach flip. What if he fumbled? What if they turned on him? Mr. Fletcher continued, his tone steady. I understand there have been concerns regarding my company's recent decisions. I want to clarify a few things. My intentions have always been to invest in the community. The words danced between hope and anxiety, each syllable weighed with significance. Sarah could see the crowd's mixed reactions. Some had frowns etched deep while others looked intrigued. She had a choice now, a chance to either sink or swim. She took a step closer, a gentle nudge of support. I know many of you have misconceptions about me and my plans for the school funding, he said, his gaze steady, but I am here to listen. I'm here to share, and most importantly, to connect with you. Nervous murmurs rippled through the diner. Sarah's heart raced as Mr. Fletcher's words settled, stirring uncertainty among their patrons. Then, unexpectedly, a voice piped up from the back. And what about the children? What about their future? Every eye turned toward Mr. Fletcher, who took a breath like he was preparing to dive into a deep pool. That's the point. I care about the children. I want them to have the best resources available. But I cannot do this alone. We need to open a dialogue. Her heart squeezed at his sincerity. Could they really turn this around? Let us meet. Let us discuss how we can work together. Sarah added, her voice rising, emboldened by the energy swirling around them. You have to hear him out. He is just as committed to this town as we are. Some patrons looked doubtful, but a flicker of hope ignited in a few faces. Yeah. Let us talk. Someone called out, and the murmurs grew a little softer, a little less hostile. Just then, the door swung open again, drawing her attention. A group of parents entered, faces lined with worry and fatigue. Sarah recognized them immediately. They were the very ones at the school board meetings. Her heart sank. What if they came in with rage instead of an open mind? Sarah, what's going on? One of the mothers exclaimed, eyes darting between her and Mr. Fletcher. The atmosphere shifted, as though the air was sucked out of the room. All eyes were now on Sarah, an unspoken question begging for an answer. Did she dare reveal what was on her heart? With a lump in her throat, she realized the truth was just as hidden within her as it was within Mr. Fletcher. Would spilling their secrets set them free or just pull them deeper into the shadows? And as the gathering shifted, the quiet swell of anticipation began to twist its way through the diner, underscoring the tension in the air. Would they open their hearts or would fear win out? The moments ticked by, each second stretching into eternity. How much did they really want to trust one another? How much was she willing to risk for a future they could build together? As Sarah glanced at Mr. Fletcher, determination gleamed in his eyes, and she knew they were on the precipice of change. But a sinking feeling clawed at her stomach. What if unveiling his truth revealed hers, too? What would happen if everything they stood to gain was overshadowed by the secrets they were trying to hide? The door burst open once more, unleashing a storm of voices and faces, and as the diner filled with chatter, Sarah felt the undeniable weight of her truth pressing against her chest. What would happen if her own hidden past collided with the community's expectations? Would they still stand together when the storm hit? The silence that followed was almost suffocating. Sarah could feel the weight of every set of eyes on her, scrutinizing her every breath. Her heart hammered against her ribcage, drowning out the distant chatter that resumed, unsure and hesitant. Mr. Fletcher remained poised, though Sarah couldn't help but notice a flicker of apprehension cross his face. Together, they stood on a cliff's edge, the plunge into the unknown flickering below. Encouraged by the warmth of the supportive murmurs, Sarah took a small step forward. Listen, she began, her voice barely rising above a whisper, but the sincerity fueled her courage. I know there are a lot of fears and misunderstandings, but that's exactly why we need to talk. Not just about the school or the funding, but about how we can truly work together. The new parents gathered in a huddle, confusion twisting their features. One of the mothers, Laura, stepped forward, her brow furrowed. You really think he can be trusted, Sarah? We've seen too many broken promises before. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but the words caught in her throat. She wanted to reassure Laura, to tell her that change was possible. But how could she do that when she was still grappling with her own doubts? Real change comes from understanding and dialogue. Mr. Fletcher interjected, his eyes on Laura. I'm not asking for blind trust. I'm asking for a chance to show you where my heart lies. I want to invest in our kids, not my profit. A ripple of murmurs swept through the room. Sarah clung to that glimmer of hope, even as unease swirled around them like a storm. The doors swung open again, revealing even more familiar faces, neighbors and friends. The tension visibly heightened. Everyone in the diner had their own story, their own fears, and they were united in their skepticism. She looked from Mr. Fletcher to the crowd. Sarah felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness. This was their town, their community, not just a business venture. What if we all shared our stories? She proposed, the words spilling forth like water breaking free from a dam. What if we sat down, not as opponents, but as neighbors wanting the same thing, a better future for our children? Gasps echoed through the diner, and just as quickly, a few patrons nodded, eyebrows lifting in interest. She could feel the tide shifting, even if just a little. Mr. Fletcher's expression softened as he turned to the crowd, his willingness to connect palpable. Exactly, he said, his voice resonating with a newfound warmth. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. It starts with listening, with understanding where one another stands. The father in the back shouted, "And what's in it for you? Why should we believe you care?" That question hung in the air, still and heavy. Sarah could feel the tension spiking once more. Mr. Fletcher rubbed the back of his neck, the strong facade wavering. "Because I've been where you are," he said quietly, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "I've been lost and looking for a way out. I've made mistakes and I've learned from them." The diner fell silent. Sarah's heart raced as she connected Mr. Fletcher's words to her own. Could she also share her truth without fear? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a small voice from beside her broke the stillness. "Mr. Fletcher, is it true you used to live here before you got rich?" A young boy, no older than 10, sat at a nearby table, his innocent curiosity cutting through the tension. The question caught everyone off guard, and for an instant, Sarah saw a flicker of surprise on Mr. Fletcher's face. Was the truth of his past unfolding right there? The tension in the room morphed into something else: curiosity, compassion, and the faintest hint of understanding. "Yeah, it's true," he answered, a reluctant smile forming as he knelt down to the boy's level. "I grew up here, and I remember how it felt to dream big in a small town." His honesty stirred something in the crowd. They leaned in, intrigued. Sarah felt the stirring of hope once again. But what about her? What part of her narrative was still hidden? The truth pressed at her like a coiled spring. Did she dare to release it now? As the murmurs grew into a soft buzz, Sarah knew they were on the brink of a breakthrough. But she also felt the gravity of her own hidden past, ready to surface like a tidal wave. Would she burst free, or would fear grip her tight once more? What would she sacrifice for transparency, and were they all prepared for the consequences? Would the past bind them or set them free? As the buzz of murmurs simmered in the air, Sarah's heart raced. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, reminding her of the weight of the truth she held. Could she really step into the spotlight? Could she lay her soul bare in front of everyone who had watched her grow up? Now they were all looking at her, waiting alongside Mr. Fletcher. The way he had shared his past, it ignited something deep within her, a whisper of courage. She started, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. The supportive looks from familiar faces bolstered her resolve. "I grew up here too, and I know what it's like to feel forgotten." Laura's eyes softened at the sound of Sarah's admission. "My family struggled," Sarah continued, breathing a little easier now, the weight on her chest lifting. "My dad lost his job at the factory. My mom worked 2 jobs just to keep us afloat. I wanted so much more. I wanted to believe that hard work would get me somewhere, but sometimes it felt impossible." The room grew quieter, each person drawn into her narrative like moths to a flame. "I used to think that just because I worked hard, I was entitled to success. But the truth is it's more complex than that. Yes, hard work matters, but so do the people who believe in you. And it can feel really lonely when no one listens." She glanced at Mr. Fletcher, who watched her intently, his eyes glistening with understanding. When I heard what he was proposing, I thought maybe he understands that too. Maybe he's trying to help, not just himself, but all of us. A clatter of utensils drew her attention. Enid, a local teacher, stood, her eyes widening with recognition. Sarah, we all know you've been through it. But you're here now, fighting for our kids. That courage matters. Her words pulsed through the diner, igniting a swell of nods and murmurs of agreement. By now, Sarah felt emboldened. If we all share our stories, maybe we can find common ground. We all want a better future for our children. Fletcher smiled, the warmth in his gaze thawing the doubt lingering in the diner. When I came back, I wanted to be more than what I had become. I wanted to reconnect, to help fix what had fractured. In the ensuing silence, a woman in the back spoke up. What if we've been wrong about you, Mr. Fletcher? What if instead of seeing you as a stranger, we saw you as someone with the potential to bring change? Tension slipped further away, replaced with hope. A flicker of camaraderie swept through the crowd, a collective heart beating in time. If they could find a way to trust one another, then maybe their town would change for the better. Maybe we can form committees, someone suggested. Start small, show that we can work together. The crowd's energy shifted again, transforming nervous whispers into excited chatter. Sarah felt the momentum building, as if they were all prepared to take a leap of faith together. But as Sarah watched their hopeful faces, an unsettling thought gnawed at her. Would sharing her family's struggles cause others to judge her? Did she really belong among them now that she had exposed her wounds? And yet, just as the tension felt like it might break, a small voice piped up. But what if this isn't real? What if we've been fooled again? The words were a harsh reminder the doubt was still there, lurking. The room seemed to inhale collectively, the excitement colliding with skepticism. Sarah felt the weight pressing down again. Did she really have the answer? The stakes were rising, and she knew this was only the beginning. Would they choose to trust? Or would they retreat back into fear, shattering the fragile connection forged in vulnerability? As the room simmered with potential, Sarah understood one thing clearly: her truth had been set free. But now, she faced a new challenge, navigating the minefield of open hearts and hidden doubts, all while aiming for a future ripe with possibility. What would it take to lead them all into the light? The tension in the diner shifted, the air charged with an electricity that felt both thrilling and terrifying. Sarah looked around the room, her heart pounding as uncertainty hung in the balance. What if they were right? What if they had been fooled more than once? Please, she urged, her voice steadying as she spoke again. I know we all have doubts. It's normal. But think about it. We've had enough of feeling broken and lost. At time we try to fix things together. This time, a wave of murmurs rolled through the crowd, rising and falling like the tide. The weight of truth settled around them, pushing back the shadows of mistrust. Sarah could feel every heartbeat. Her pulse matched with theirs, a reminder of shared vulnerabilities. Mr. Fletcher stepped forward, his presence commanding but gentle. I'm not asking for blind trust. I'm asking for a chance. We can make real changes if we stand together. Rebuild what we lost. A man from the back, a gray-haired figure Sarah recognized from childhood, raised his head slowly. And how do we know you won? Just take what you can and leave again, like so many before. His words sliced through the air, raw and honest. Silence enveloped the room. Sarah held her breath, her fingers gripping the edge of the table, anticipation coiling tight in her gut. Fletcher took a moment, swallowing hard. Because I'm not just coming in with plans and proposals. I'm coming in as a part of this community. I was once a boy in these streets, dreaming big, and I failed. I want to redeem that, not just for myself but for all of you. A young mother, her baby nestled in her arms, chimed in softly. What if we try? What if we really believe this time? The air shifted again, hope blooming in the cracks of their uncertainty. Sarah felt a warmth spreading through her. It was contagious, and she found her fear easing. If they could take that chance, if they believed what could change. Let us start small, Enid said, her voice rising above the low hum. We could create a community garden, something everyone can contribute to. It might lead to other projects too. Excited murmurs flared up again, and Sarah felt her own spirit lifting at the thought. A garden. It was a simple idea, but it symbolized growth, a chance to nurture their connection with each other and the land. I can help with that, Sarah offered, feeling the flame of determination reignite within her. I've always loved working with plants. Could be the first step. Fletcher nodded, his smile broadening. That's exactly the kind of spirit we need. We can plant the seeds of change, literally and figuratively. As they discussed plans, Sarah's heart swelled with purpose. She felt like she belonged again, rooted in something greater than herself. But in the midst of the excitement, a flicker of doubt crept back in. Could they really do this? Then, just as the room erupted in ideas and strategies, the door swung open with a creak. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, and the air shifted once more. When the light spilled in, everyone turned, eyes wide as a tall man stepped inside, his face strained and pale. Sorry to interrupt, he said, breathless. But I need to talk to Mr. Fletcher immediately. The laughter and laughter died, replaced by a dense nervous energy. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. What was this man doing here? What did he want? Could this stranger shatter the fragile hope that had begun to weave together the threads of their community? Her instincts screamed at her that a new storm was brewing. The man's gaze swept across the diner, stopping at Mr. Fletcher. The tension felt like a plastic wrap pulled too tight, ready to snap. Sarah stared, instincts on high alert. Could this man, with his disheveled hair and wild eyes, truly be the catalyst for upheaval? Who are you? Fletcher's voice was steady, but Sarah caught a flicker of apprehension in his demeanor. I'm nobody. But I know something, the stranger replied, stepping further into the light. You need to hear this. It's about the plans. If you move forward with them, it won't end well. The dim light of the diner glinted off his sweat-dampened forehead, making him appear both urgent and pleading. A murmur rippled through the crowd, whispers threading anxiety into their previous excitement. What are you talking about? Fletcher pressed, taking a cautious step closer, his hand inching toward the table as if searching for support. The stranger took a breath, his eyes darting to the door as if he were afraid of being followed. There are people watching, people who won't let you succeed. They're tied to the past, the same people who let this community crumble. What do you mean? Enid asked, her voice tinged with worry. Who's after us? There's a group. They want to keep you all divided. Your garden, your hopes, they see it as a threat. The man's words fell like stones into the simmering pot of their hopes. And they stop at nothing to destroy it. Sarah's heart raced. A chill ran down her spine, as if something in the air had shifted, leaving a treacherous wind in its wake. How do you know this? She blurted out before she could catch herself. I used to be part of them. The stranger's voice trembled slightly, vulnerability cracking through the panic. But I broke free. It's dangerous, I know, but if you start to build, they will come for you. They'll try to break you again. Gasps filled the room, uncertainty twisting their excitement into fear. Sarah felt the room constrict, the walls seeming to close in as dread settled deep in her gut. Look, Fletcher said, holding up his hands in a soothing gesture. That's a pretty serious accusation. We're trying to work together to create something good here. Why should we believe you? This is not a game, Mr. Fletcher. The stranger's voice cracked. These people won't just watch from the sidelines. They thrive on division. If they sense hope in this community, they will come in like a storm. Silence hung heavy, punctuated by the clinking sounds of abandoned coffee cups. How could they move forward with the shadow of this threat looming over them? Just then, a woman in the corner who had stayed quiet finally spoke up. But we can't just let fear dictate our actions. If we let it control us, then they win. Sarah admired her fire, but felt her own doubts rising like a tide behind her. What if this went even worse than the last time they had trusted? As the diner buzzed with mixed feelings of dread and defiance, Sarah's heart screamed for clarity. "We need to protect ourselves, but we can't stop believing," she said out loud, despite the uncertainty knotted inside her. Fletcher nodded slowly, his gaze sharpening on the stranger. "How can we be prepared? What do you suggest?" The stranger stood taller, resolve woven into the creases of his face. "You'll need to band together tighter than ever before. You'll need to build alliances, find out who can be trusted. Navigating the dark may be the only way for the light to shine." Sarah's breath caught. Where was this leading? Could they really bind their hope with the threads of trust when treachery hung in the air like a storm cloud? The stakes had suddenly risen higher. Would they retreat into fear, or stand firm against the storm? As the minutes stretched, Sarah could only think of how precarious their situation had become. What would be the next step in this fragile game of trust? The question hung in the air, waiting to be answered. But would they all have the courage to embrace the hope hidden amidst the shadows? The moment was heavy with uncertainty. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, matching the tension swirling among the group. Sarah's heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing the weight of the stranger's warning. Fletcher pulled back slightly, his brow furrowed. "Can't we just go ahead with the garden? I mean, it's just a community project. Are we really going to let fear steer our ship?" Enid's eyes widened. "But what if he's right? What if we're walking into a trap? We can't afford to be naive. We need to think this through." The whispers began again, a soft tumult of worries weaving through the room. A few faces wore expressions of defiance, but many were visibly shaken, doubt gnawing at them like an unseen force. "I understand your apprehension," the stranger said, his voice steady now, each word deliberate. "But this community has weathered storms before. I know because I've seen the damage done from the inside. They'll try to sabotage you before you even get a chance to grow." Sarah exchanged glances with others seated around the booth. They were all people she had worked alongside, shared dreams and laughter with. The thought of that being stripped away, shrouded in shadows of betrayal, made her stomach churn. "What happened to you?" Sarah blurted, her curiosity piqued. "What made you run?" The stranger's face clouded over, pain flickering in his eyes. "I thought I could change them from the inside. I wanted to believe in the cause, thought they held the secrets to success. But I learned too late they thrived on chaos. When I realized that, when I saw the traps they set for good people, I had to escape." The silence left them all hanging on every word, the tension thickening again. "How can we distinguish between good and bad?" Enid asked, her voice unsteady, searching for solid ground amidst the uncertainty. "You'll need to find common ground. Build bridges with those who share your vision," the stranger suggested, his gaze intensifying. "And gather your strength. Rely on each other. The trust must start now before the enemy strikes." Fletcher nodded slowly. "Then we organize. We need to meet, discuss openly what we're at risk of losing and who we can trust." A mix of fear and excitement flickered within the diner. The flickering fluorescent lights seemed to hum with new energy. "We can't let them break us," Sarah declared, voice firmer now. "But we must take this threat seriously. We owe it not just to ourselves but to our future." "We'll hold a meeting tomorrow," Fletcher announced, rallying those present. "And we'll start mapping out our strategy together." But the stranger's expression darkened. "Be careful. They've likely already heard whispers of your plans. They don't wait to strike." A door creaked, and the entire diner turned. Sarah's chest tightened as she caught a figure slipping into the diner, a man in a dark coat, his posture rigid, scanning the tables. Her instincts flared. "Who's that?" she whispered, eyes trained on the stranger, heart racing. The stranger's eyes widened in recognition. "Get low. We need to leave now." Before anyone could react, the man in the coat drew closer, every step echoing like a gunshot in the charged atmosphere. Fear prickled the back of Sarah's neck. What had they just stepped into? Could their united front withstand this new, menacing arrival? The uncertainty loomed, leaving them on the brink. As the stranger turned to lead the way, Sarah felt the collective breath of the diner hold. Would they flee or stand their ground? What discussion would tomorrow bring amidst the growing threat? Panic radiated through the diner. Sarah felt it in her bones, an electric pulse that surged like a tidal wave as they scrambled to comply with the stranger's urgent command. Fletcher, Enid, and the others moved instinctively, lowering themselves beneath the tables while fear tangled in their throats. The man in the dark coat continued his advance, eyes piercing as they scanned the diner. He didn't seem like a casual diner-goer. His focus was sharp and intent. Sarah could scarcely breathe, her heart hammering louder than the din of the fluorescent buzz above. She ducked behind a nearby table, catching glimpses of her friends' anxious faces, eyes wide, bodies tense. "He*s looking for someone," Enid whispered, her voice barely above a breath, but the tremor was clear. "What does he want?" "Maybe he's here for the stranger," Fletcher suggested, his brow knitted in concentration. "But how does he know? We're not in this together yet. Or maybe he's part of the chaos the stranger talked about," Sarah murmured, trying to keep her voice steady. "What if he's one of them?" As they listened, the stranger's demeanor shifted subtly, becoming focused and controlled. Sarah could see him move towards the edge of the booth, as if preparing to confront the man directly. "Stay back," he said sharply, raising a warning hand. The stranger's deep-set eyes darkened, and Sarah could almost feel the tension snapping between them. The man in the coat paused, his expression inscrutable. "You don't want to draw attention to yourself, do you?" he asked, voice low and smooth, but the undertone was dangerous. Like a match to tinder, that simple phrase ignited dread in Sarah's heart. She could feel every breath around her, the cacophony of whispers rising and falling like waves on a shore cramped by uncertainty. Her instincts kicked in, and she leaned into the moment, plotting their next move. "Do you know him?" she whispered to Fletcher, watching him shake his head as the man continued scanning, moving closer to their booth. The stranger stepped forward, placing himself between the man and the group, a protective barrier that Sarah recognized could lead him into danger. "Listen," the stranger said, his voice even but with an edge. "We're not the enemies here. We're just trying to build a community. And what do you know about that?" The man's lips curled into a thin smile, yet his eyes remained cold. "Your community is worth nothing if it doesn't belong to you." Fear bubbled inside Sarah, and she sensed a deep confrontation looming, where words would weigh heavy and decisions could shatter. The man tilted his head as if weighing the stranger's spirit, gauging which responses would tip the scale. "Leave. This community is protected," the man said, tone shifting towards menace. "Go back to hiding while you still can." The words sliced through the air, leaving a chill in their wake. Every instinct told Sarah to run, to escape this impending storm, but deep within, a fire ignited. Maybe it was courage, maybe foolishness. Would she really let fear dictate their fate? Suddenly, the stranger turned to them, eyes gleaming with determination. "We can't back down now. We fight for our garden and for each other. It starts here." But just as he spoke, the door swung open again. More figures stepped inside, their silhouettes dark against the diner lights. Sarah felt a rush of dread combine with hope. Her pulse quickened once more. How many adversaries were closing in? Would they stand together or be scattered like leaves in the wind? As the room buzzed with newfound tension, Sarah locked eyes with Fletcher, his resolve solidifying something deep inside her. "We can't let this end before it begins," she said, her heart racing. But with that, a chilling laugh echoed from the man in the coat. "Oh, you don't even know what you're up against," as the weight of his words pressed down on them. Sarah wondered what kind of battle had they really started? What lay waiting in the shadows? And could their community truly unite in the face of such powerful opposition? The diner was a battlefield now, a swirling epicenter of fear, hope, and burgeoning courage. Each gasp, every whispered word felt like a heartbeat shared in that compact space. Sarah's eyes were glued to the man in the coat, his presence suffocating yet electric. "Back away," the stranger said, a low intensity radiating from him. "This isn't just about fear anymore. It's about what we're willing to fight for." The diner held its breath, caught in a moment suspended in time. It all felt surreal. The smell of coffee still clung in the air, yet a sharp tension filled the gaps between conversations. This was more than just a project, more than just a community garden. It was a stand for something greater. "What do you want?" Mr. Fletcher asked, his voice steady, even as uncertainty flickered in his eyes. The man grinned, eyes dancing with arrogance. "Oh, I want to see if you're all willing to sacrifice the safety that comes with folding back into the shadows. You think pushing forward is strength? There's a target on your back." Sarah leaned in, urgency clawing within her. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted, the words rising unbidden from her chest. "You think you can intimidate us? We're just people trying to lift each other up." Murmurs resonated from the crowd, and she could feel the tide shifting once more. Courage buzzed in the air, igniting hearts that had been whispering doubts all along. The man's sneer faltered, but only briefly. "Courage is commendable, but this is a game you don't understand," he replied, his voice dripping with disdain. "And your desire to unite will only bring you calamity." "No," Enid shouted, stepping forward, eyes blazing defiantly. "We've been living in fear for too long. We refuse to let you dictate our future." The charge of communal strength surged among them. Sarah joined Enid, her heart racing with fierce determination. "We're not just individuals. We're a community. Our children, our futures are worth fighting for. Did you hear that?" The man addressed the crowd, sarcasm dripping from his tone. "A little prophecy of change, don't you think?" But the crowd was no longer passive. The energy in the diner was palpable. Each patron breathed in hope and responded with murmurs of resolve. "Your threats don't scare us," Mr. Fletcher interjected, eyes now hard as steel. "You're hiding behind intimidation, but we are standing for everything that matters." The room erupted, voices rising in unison. Sentiments echoed in a chorus of defiance. The man in the coat recoiled, taken aback by the tidal wave of emotion and strength growing around him. But then the door swung open again, and this time it was Timmy, his small figure framed against the neon lights, innocence radiating from him like sunbeams breaking through dark clouds. "Sarah," he called, eyes wide with confusion yet filled with trust. "What's happening?" The sight of him jolted something in Sarah's chest, reminding her why she was fighting, why they all were. "Timmy, it's okay. Just stay back for a moment," she urged gently, but internally she felt a wave of protectiveness surge. "Look at that," the man chuckled coldly, eyes glinting with malice. "The boy believes in the dream too, doesn't he? But dreams can shatter, you know. I'm offering you a lesson: don't reach for the stars if you can't afford to fall." "No," Sarah shouted, heart racing. "We will build our dreams. You will not take that from us." Suddenly, every voice in the diner joined theirs, echoing behind her. "We believe in each other," someone shouted, and like dominoes, they all began to interlace, their voices uplifting, unwavering, a powerful symphony of resilience. "Who are you to define our journey?" Sarah pressed onward, her heart racing still. The warmth of camaraderie surged through her, wrapping her in strength, radiating with belief that burned brighter than any fear. The man in the coat stood still, a flicker of doubt crossing his face for the first time. He was no longer the figure of power. He was just a man facing a storm of unity. The realization seemed to hit him, as disarray washed over his arrogant facade. With the force of a community behind her, Sarah stepped forward. Every fear, every doubt was drowned in her unwavering spirit. "You may think you hold the cards because of your threats, but our strength is forged in connection. We will not crumble." Then, almost as if on cue, the diner erupted with applause, a unified, roaring chorus that filled the space, transforming the tension into palpable empowerment. They were no longer divided. They were a collective force, tearing down the walls of fear. With wide eyes, the man in the coat staggered back, realizing just how powerful they had become. He retreated, caught in the whirlwind of what it meant to stand together. At that moment, a realization washed over the diner. Hope was not just a whisper. It was a shout blazing through the air. They were ready to fight for their community, ready to forge a future, As silence settled, Sarah turned to Fletcher, eyes glimmering with newfound strength. We've just made a choice to protect what we love. He nodded, a smile breaking across his face. And this is just the beginning. Sarah turned to Timmy, now standing at her side. Confusion turned to awe. It's gonna be okay. Buddy, she promised, pulling him close. Yes, we're family, and family fights for each other, he exclaimed, his innocent determination bringing light to the heavy atmosphere. With an embrace, the two felt the warmth of their community close around them, fortified by trust and shared dreams. Their fears had been met head-on, and they had emerged victorious. The diner rang with voices united, dedicated to planting the seeds of change. Together, they would nurture and grow. From now on, we will rise, Sarah declared, her heart soaring. We will build, we will protect our community, and we're doing it together. A chorus of agreement erupted once more, the air vibrating with resilience and hope. And in that moment, beneath the buzzing fluorescent lights of the diner, they all knew that the future was brighter, for the strength of unity was theirs at last. Now it's your turn, heroes. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.